I'm in Italy at the moment, in Calabria, which is in the south east of
Okay.
Italy. It's the tip of the toe of the boot of the Italian boot, and so I'm now on holiday. And but I did do my lockdown entirely in the UK, and I actually started to lock down earlier than the government, before the government basically took action, because I saw what was going on in Italy, and I was really upset that the government wasn't taking a similar action compared to our government. So
Yeah.
basically, my lockdown has been longer than the standard British one, and I was one of the few wearing masks when everybody wasn't wearing masks, and now finally they have made it compulsory in shops, which is something I was expecting to happen before.
Yeah.
With Italy, yeah, of course, the lockdown has been much heavier from the very beginning and much tougher, and everyone was eager, of course, to go back to some sort of normal. And we're now seeing finally the few new concerts popping up here and there. So the guys were busy in Milan this Sunday on a performance of a famous version of Pinocchio,
Oh, yes.
uh, the very famous story about the puppet. There is a version that was very famous in the 70s that was broadcast on Italian state television. It's been scored by Fiorenzo Carpi, who was a very influential composer for the television, the theater, and it features a mixture of, I would say, classical music and art songs.
Mm-hmm.
And Enrico Gabelli, who is one of the two other members of 90 Minutes 40 Seconds, has scored an arrangement of the original music, which we are very happy to announce. We will also be able to release on CD, hopefully this year. So they were, of course, very, very hyped up at the fact that they were finally able to perform live after so many months in lockdown, which, of course, have served a bit our cause, because when you're, at home, you finally have the time to maybe work on other things. But definitely, particularly for Sebastiano and Enrico, it has had quite an impact on their lives from every point of view. And particularly money-wise, of course, because they are touring musicians, so they rely quite a lot on their touring capabilities and what comes from there in terms of money. So yeah, it was quite a special moment in Milan on Sunday, because they were working on a project they really cherished, and finally, it was also quite an important festival that is organized by the mayor of Milan, and together with Elisabetta Sgarbi, who's quite a popular person in the culture industry in Italy. And they were very pleased that it was down in the center in Milan, right next to the famous Duomo, the cathedral in downtown Milan. And this is hopefully the first sign of things going back to definitely a new normal. Of course, you have all sorts of requirements in order to make sure that both the audience and the performers are safe during the performance itself. But other than that, it seems like we're kind of getting there. There have been other concerts. Circo Massimo, they did a Rigoletto by Giuseppe Verdi recently that I saw on television. It was again a social distance one, but it was quite an interesting version of the famous
Yeah, wasn't
the
that
famous
quite the
opera.
modern? That was quite modern, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was quite modern. You
Yeah,
had
yeah.
a gang, a mob of gangsters, and you have people dressing with clown masks, scary ones, and I think it was a very powerful one. And despite the fact that the singers and the orchestra were supposed to keep a distance, they managed to make it work nonetheless, and kind of make it part of the actual performance and the staging. So I think it was a powerful one. So yeah, I think all things considered, everybody's asking me how's Italy, because Italy was hit, as the first in Europe, of course. But actually, we're now getting better and better, and it's actually doing much better than other countries that have really not tackled this situation at the very beginning when they had the time to do so. Particularly seeing what was happening in other countries and have pretty much ignored the science.
Mm-hmm. Oh, good.
But yeah. So we even managed to finally get this new release done, which was yet another great achievement considering all the situation, the entire situation. So yeah.
Yeah. So can you tell me about the new release that's coming up on the 12th of August at the gates of the
Yeah.
Twilight Zone? Could you tell me how this project came about, and why did you decide to present the music of Bernard Herrmann in concert? Obviously, his music
Yeah.
is so iconic from films like Psycho.
Of course. So one of the main passions we have as the family members of 90 minutes 40 seconds is science fiction, and particularly science fictions of the 50s and 60s. And of course, when it comes to that science fiction, the Twilight Zone is unavoidable. And for any science fiction lover, I think it's one of the staples in your diet as a science fiction lover. And Bernard Herrmann holds a special place there, of course, because of the music that he scored for the Twilight Zone, which made history in the sense that, of course, many other composers after him kind of went through the same idiom, so to speak. So it now is, if you listen to it, it sounds like the A to Z of a classical composer that is penning music for the television, and particularly for a science fiction series. I think it really has these music tropes that work perfectly well with the genre. But of course, he kind of invented it at the time. Of course, mostly taking cues from Gustav Holst's The Planets, which has been, again, probably the blueprint for many works to come, from John Williams to Bernard Herrmann again. We are very big fans of Gustav Holst. We recorded The Planets at the Biennale in Venice in 2017. It's another arrangement that Enrico penned for a small ensemble of, I think, 13 musicians. We were invited by the French Pavilion and the artist in residence of the time, Xavier Vellon, to perform at his studio / installation. It was a recording studio that has been used during the Biennale by many artists, including Brian Eno, Thurston Moore, and others, to either perform or record, or the two, in front of the audience that was passing by, so coming in and looking at the installation, which was beautiful. There are pictures online that you can check out. And at the time, so we were invited for 2 days to record these arrangements Enrico came up with of the planets, which works really well. I think it really does justice to the great music writing that Gustav Holst has put in into that piece, which is, of course, a much loved one from classical music lovers to science fiction music lovers alike.